And I think the key to becoming, a good founder and a good leader is that you look at everything as, figure outable, and that there's a solution, so that because every day there's going to be something, and you just have to figure out, okay, what's the solution? How else can we, come at it? In startup life too, is coming up with like, what's plan B? What's plan C? If B didn't work. And I think that's a big learning lesson, in kind of trying to ride those waves without getting super elated when things are going well, or super deflated if things come up.
Women Who Own It podcast spotlights women business owners who are pioneers in their field, setting trends, blazing trails, and creating game-changing innovations. Brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the U.S. and a leading advocate for women business owners and entrepreneurs. And me, Allison Maslan. I've been a business owner for the last 35 years. I'm the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book Scale or Fail. So join our bold community of women who built it, grew it, and own it. I'll see you on the show. Welcome to the fourth season of the Women Who Own It podcast, where we are diving into the theme of momentum. This year, we're exploring how our network of women-owned businesses builds and sustains momentum in their practices and their operations. From developing successful strategies to overcoming obstacles and leveraging community support, our guests share their insights, their experiences in driving growth and innovation. Now, we hope to inspire you with lots of practical tips on how to stay ahead of the curve in this ever-evolving market. So join us on Women Who Own It today as we embark on this exciting journey of learning, discovery, and growth. And I am so inspired, speaking of, with our guests today. Mara Smith is the founder of Inspiro Tequila. Now, she is a former attorney, a corporate strategist, and a stay-at-home mom. And Mara practiced law at a large Chicago law firm before joining the corporate strategy team of a Fortune 500 company. She was put on emergency bed rest while she was pregnant with her twins. And when they were born prematurely, Mara made the difficult decision to leave her corporate career. But she never stopped thinking about what was going to be next. Now, Mara always envisioned running her own company, and in 2020, she set out on her journey to create a new tequila brand. And we're going to dive into all of this. And for years, her clean spirit choice has been tequila, which I actually am a fan of myself. And she searched for a tequila brand that was additive-free with a look, taste, and aroma that appealed to her. That perfect tequila, well, it didn't exist. So she decided to create one, because that's what we do as entrepreneurs. And the goal was not to just create a one-of-a-kind tequila, but also bring another female perspective to the spirits industry. So, Mara, welcome to Women Who Own It.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
Yeah, and congratulations on what you've created in really a fairly short period of time.
Thank you. It feels like it's been a really long time, but then also it seems like it's gone very quickly.
I know. I 100% get what you're talking about. I'm sure our listeners do too. Now, attorney, stay-at-home mom, to starting and building the tequila company, that's a lot. So can you share really what was in your heart to make the leap from the corporate law career to ultimately starting this new business?
Yes. So a lot of career pivots. Let's start out. I think, in my younger years, I was probably a little more risk averse. So entrepreneurship was really never on my radar. I wanted a very secure job. As a child, I remember my dream was to become a Supreme Court justice. So there's no more job security than a job that you hold for life. But
Yes.
So I always knew I was going to go to law school and practice law. I was at the largest law firm in Chicago at the time, practicing transactional law. While I was there, after years there, I thought I wanted to start a family. At the time I was there were really no female role models to look to see how you could possibly manage a large law firm career and having a family. There were no women partners in my entire department. So at that time, I decided to make the transition and move to the business side and go and work in corporate strategy. At my undergrad, it was a business degree, and I have a CPA, so I decided to go into the business realm and work in corporate strategy. And again, things don't go as planned. I became pregnant with my oldest children, who are twins, and was put on emergency bed rest, and that just kind of my corporate career came to a screeching halt. I was on emergency bed rest. I was on bed rest for 3.5 months, and then had preemie twins, and made the difficult decision, but very fortunate decision, because I had that option, and chose to stay home. I thought they needed my attention.
Of
So
course.
that was probably the biggest pivot that I never saw coming. I was more likely to start a company than actually ever considered, being home, because I was really myopically focused on, moving my way up the corporate ladder. So, um, home for many years, had a third child subsequently, that 9.5 years younger. So I was home for many years, but always knew I wanted to start a company. I always knew it was going to be in either food or beverage. I'm a super consumer. I just like taste testing everything. And I knew it was going to be in that category. I knew I wanted to be product based, because I'd already worked on the service side and I wanted this to be a product. And the reason it became tequila is, frankly, I'm a tequila drinker. That has been my adult beverage of choice for many years. I thought, okay, well, it doesn't have sugar and it's gluten free. It fits in my active lifestyle. What I did not realize is that everything I was drinking contained undisclosed additives. So once I learned
Mm.
about that, I just started searching for an additive free brand that appealed to me as the consumer. And the impetus to starting this was, one, wanting something that was additive free, but still approachable, easy to drink. And two, all these women kept telling me that they drink tequila, just like you said. And I just thought to myself, well, if all these women drink tequila, why are spirits brands not focused on this consumer?
Yeah.
And what I discovered is she actually makes up about half of tequila drinkers. We all know that women make over 80% of the purchasing decisions. And I thought, there is just an overlooked consumer in the industry, and no one is really speaking directly to her. So that I thought, who better to address her than someone who is this consumer?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for some reason, I mean, I often will drink wine, and I don't drink a lot of alcohol, but if I do drink, like, I like a good margarita, or just a good tequila to sip on, is my body seems to handle that better than drinking vodka for some reason. But building an alcohol brand, I mean, that's a big undertaking. And I would imagine that there is kind of a network, especially in the tequila market, maybe a strong male industry. I don't know. I'm guessing. But you said on your, I read on your website, you said, I envisioned something new, a brand that could transform how women thought about tequila. And I noticed even the bottles that you have designed, they're absolutely beautiful. They're a little bit more feminine looking. How have you approached standing out from the other tequila brands?
Yes. Well, tequila is, a crowded category. And I think going back to the first part of that question is, it is, a complicated industry. So entering the spirits industry, the first really step was to gain as much knowledge as possible. So just starting to do a deep dive into the spirits industry compliance. There are a ton of regulations, from the federal level to the state level. Every state operates as if it's its own country. Um, so really trying to get a handle on how the spirits industry works, and the laws and regulations. Luckily, with the legal background, that part was, not as daunting for me. But then really, also understanding tequila and the production. There's a lot of history and tradition behind tequila production. So, getting a really good understanding. I actually took a course even offered by the CRT, the governing body in Mexico for tequila, and became certified in the production and history of tequila making. So just
Wow, I
and
love that.
you can really get up to speed in any industry as an outsider, but there are available resources out there. It just requires a lot of due diligence. Um, and then, speaking, because I was particularly focused on myself as the consumer, and other consumers like me, I wanted everything to be very customer centric. So you mentioned the bottle, everything from the bottle design. I wanted to just be thoughtfully crafted, and knowing that the category is crowded, it really had to have kind of three pieces to it, which is this, authentic brand story together with impeccable liquid. So not just a pretty bottle, but making sure the liquid is meticulously crafted and matches the bottle. And then the last was the packaging. And I created the bottle because I wanted something that I would want to display on my own home bar. And
Yeah.
if you saw, it's slender in the middle because I wanted something that was also easy to hold and pour, because I found the big round stout bottles hard to manipulate. So everything about it was done kind of with this end user in mind.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, you want to go over to the website, and we'll be sharing that in a little bit. But Inspiro Tequila, and check it out because they're absolutely beautiful. Now and everything I'm saying here, I think really applies to any industry. I love the fact, Mara, that you were like, okay, I don't know that much about this industry. I like tequila. I'm going to just do my due diligence, and here you found a way to get certified in Mexico. So there's always a way. I think a lot of times people don't do things because they feel like it's a daunting task, and you've gone after your dreams. It's really, like I said, very inspiring. But you harvest, you manufacture, and then you're selling to the retailers. And you have, I also looked, you have a couple different, I guess, flavors is, I don't know, there's probably a better way of saying it, but Luna Blanca. And then you have the Rosa, which I was really impressed. I think the women will like that because I love pink champagne. So it kind of reminded me of that. Rosa Reposado. Did I say
Yes.
that correctly?
Yes.
And you've said that uh, you sourced rosé wine barrels from France to make this kind of rose tequila. And so, I just it's so fascinating to me because, you're really from the harvesting, all the way into delivery. It's quite a journey before the product gets to the customer. What do you feel like has been the most your favorite part, and what has maybe been your most challenging part?
Yes. Well, so you talked about the production a little bit. So we use a distillery in Mexico who creates our tequila. They produce the tequila. So to be 100% agave, tequila must be manufactured and bottled in certain regions of Mexico. It is similar to champagne, where it has to be done at appellation of origin. So I specifically chose a distillery, though, that would let me bring my own chef into their kitchen. So for me, it was really important that the brand, be brought to life and the taste profiles developed by a female master distiller. So we have a legendary female master distiller in Mexico, Ana Maria Romero Mena, who creates our taste profile. And so we chose, basically, distillery would be similar to like a co-packer if you're in a regular kind of food industry, in the food industry. Um, and they follow everything from how the agave is selected, how it's cut, our entire like process. Um, and then we do offer two expressions. We have a Blanco and a Reposado. And both we try to do something that's a little bit of a twist on what would typically be done. So our Blanco, it's rested in barrels for a short time. And that's how we were able to develop some sweeter tasting notes and create a really approachable, easy to drink Blanco tequila, but without using additives, just based on our meticulous process. And then our Rosa Reposado, that's one where, coming in as an outsider to the industry, you don't know what you don't know. So I said, "Oh, I like rosé wine, but I don't feel great with the after effects and all the sugar and tequila. So can we age tequila in rosé wine barrels?" Little did I know that rosé wine is a young wine that is not traditionally barrel aged. So I had to
Mm.
scour the planet to find rosé wine barrels. We finally found them and sourced them in the south of France. But that's probably why not a lot of people are doing that, and why we're the first one using actual rosé wine barrels to age our reposado. But what we were able to create is something that's this really unique taste profile, really good entry point for people who maybe are not used to drinking aged expressions, and also this gorgeous rose gold hue that does look similar to like a rosé wine, but it's all natural. So you see some pink tequilas out there. Maybe they're adding coloring to make it pink, but it's all just from the barrel. So it just, I guess it shows that maybe coming in as a, as an industry outsider, you kind of bring a different perspective and maybe the ability to innovate because you don't have like all the parameters
Right.
around
Yeah,
you
I think it's
that you
actually
know.
better,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because you're not stuck in your own ways. For somebody that's been in the industry a long time, you can be innovative about it, which is really what needs to happen in the market that we're in, right? You have to be able to find ways to stand out from your competition.
Yes. So hopefully that is, a differentiator, and I think both of our taste profiles, and tequila is a very interesting spirit. So they're all going to be a little bit different, which is why it makes it such a unique and interesting spirit to drink. And both of our tequilas are really sipping tequilas, as you mentioned, being able to sip on it, just very easy to drink on their own, or, mixing in a light cocktail.
Now, has this been easier than you thought? I mean, the process, or harder than you thought? Like what have been some of your biggest surprises?
Probably harder. I think it's hard to grasp the how difficult just operations and logistics are, especially when you are producing product in a foreign country. So, you know, customs, everything from getting raw materials there through customs, and then getting production and getting it into the states. So it is very complex and very time consuming, and I probably didn't have an appreciation of just how time consuming that is. Um, and every production run, being part of it and doing a lot of taste testing and sampling, because if you use additives, you're able to kind of create that consistency over and over by just adding flavoring or coloring and getting it consistent every run. And if you're not, it is a very hands-on approach, of having to taste test and try it and tweak things and see if it's coming out okay. So um, it's not like just a rinse and repeat. So
Right.
I think that part has been more complicated and time consuming than I probably would have anticipated. And that's also probably just being a first time founder, because I'm sure these stories happen across the board, but something happens with packaging or delays, or I mean, gosh, and COVID delays for ocean freight and the costs and how they escalated and things like that. So, but I think it's all part of the learning process, really, is trying to figure out those things and how can you streamline things and make it more efficient. And a big learning as a founder is also which items can you take off your plate and maybe bring someone on to help with, because as you realize how time consuming it is, maybe some of those things aren't really worth you dedicating as much of your time towards those things.
Right. And that's, a big part of growing and scaling a company is for you, because you're the visionary, you're the idea person. When you get stuck into the weeds of the business, then you're really in a sense working for yourself rather than like moving the company forward in a big way. And so, and I want to talk about team in just a minute. But what, like, some of the challenges that have come up for you? Because I think this across the board for those business owners that are listening here, whether you have a product business or you have a service business, we can learn from our mistakes and our biggest challenges. I really feel that when we come up, we hit a wall, something isn't working, it forces us to dig deep, to get creative, and to come up with a solution. And oftentimes that ends up being better than what you were wanting in the first place. And so, have you had those situations where, you face some challenges, you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is what are we going to do?" And then, you had some big lessons from those. Could you share a
Yes.
few of
And
those?
and I kind of laugh because I feel like, as a founder, I kind of look at it like, you mean today? I mean, every day there are
Yeah, this
challenges that I
morning,
mean,
yeah.
exactly. Every single day there's some challenge. If it's managing family as well as, startup life, but there are always challenges. I'd say a few of them. So starting out, because I started this, I had impeccable timing of founding a company in February of 2020 before the entire world shut down.
Yes.
I could not get to Mexico for production. So I was doing things virtually. I had my master distiller. We had found our distillery, and the first production run took place, and I was anxiously awaiting my samples. When I finally received the samples, I was so excited, and I tried them, and then I was not very excited because I did not like it, and I was really disappointed. Disappointed. It was kind of heart wrenching because you were waiting and waiting for all this time. They
Yes.
didn't follow like one small specification about the cooling time before going into fermentation. So my master distiller also was not happy with it. And it just was not what I was looking for. And, uh, it was suggested that maybe we take that batch and do another batch and just blend them. It was not sitting well with me. It just didn't seem right. I didn't want to take something not good and something good and make something mediocre.
Right.
Just didn't think, I have to love it and it has to be something that I can stand behind. Um, so I decided to scrap that entire batch. It set us back many, many months. It set us back financially,
Wow.
but it was the right decision because I care so much about quality. I care about it in everything that I do generally. So and it's, going out there, I felt like you can't go out and not have it like exactly how you want it and the
Yeah.
quality that you want. So it
Yeah.
was, it was a
That must have
learning.
been tough, especially you're so excited, and it definitely is costly. I know we've talked to other founders on this show that have had some similar situations, as well. Those are tough decisions that you've got to make, especially how that threw you back. But here you're coming out on the market, you wanna be able to make your big debut.
Yes. So ultimately the right decision. And I rather take more time and do things how we want them done. But, that's just one example. Listen, for founders out there, it's not the only one. There are so many hurdles. And I think the key to becoming, a good founder and a good leader is that you look at everything as, figure outable and that there's a solution so that
Mhm.
because every day there's going to be something and you just have to figure out, okay, what's the solution? How else can we, come at it? I feel like maybe I developed some of those skills being a stay-at-home mom for so long is that there's no day ever goes as planned with children. There's always
Right.
some glitch in the plans. So you're constantly problem solving. And I think that's just the name of the game. In startup life too is coming up with like, what's plan B? What's plan C? If, B didn't work. And, I think that's a big learning lesson in kind of trying to ride those waves without getting super elated when things are going well or super deflated if things come up. So
Yeah, I think that is such fantastic advice, really, because if you plug in emotionally too much, you're going to be on this gigantic roller coaster, and then you can't, your brain gets paralyzed because you're in fear or worry, and you can't come up with the creative solutions. And know that there is always a solution, there is always a way. And I would imagine, since you've gone through that, you haven't had to throw away another batch, because now you're really clear that all the steps need to be followed. And I think this is where, with our company, and when we work with business owners in our mentoring company, Pinnacle Global Network, we say when things slip through the cracks, that's just another step that you need to add to your system. Like, there's just a step that was missing. And so you learn that, and you can make it better next time, which it sounds like you did.
Yes, yes, we did. We did get it, and now it's been coming out the right way every time now. So
Yeah.
yes.
Good. Now, we talk a lot about scaling, and one of the most important tenets of scaling is having a team managed company. You can't build a successful business in a silo. Here, you've got your manufacturing distillery in Mexico. You've got people that have their eye on things, but it's also one of the biggest roadblocks to growth is building a team. What have you learned since you started the business about being a leader and building a team?
Yes. Well, first, I'd say one key learning for me, and that's a really great question because I think people need to reflect on that when they're building and how you can do that kind of very thoughtfully. I think as a small independent brand, outsourcing and bringing people on 1099 basis has been really effective for us. It allows me to try people out, see if it works, and it just for a small company gives us a lot of flexibility because not everybody is the right fit. Do they understand the brand, the messaging? Um, when you're a small team, everyone has to work really cohesively. So that has been a learning for me, is that trying everyone out and having people on a consulting basis, um, because frankly some have worked and stayed on for a very long time and some it wasn't the right fit. And so that was one learning for me. I think that's been helpful. Even my national sales director, I mean, she was a consultant for 8 months before I brought her on full time. So I just think it's
Hmm.
a way to really like kind
Kind of
of
test them and
test them
see.
and make sure that it's like
Hmm.
a good fit and that we work well together and understanding the brand. I also think you can use agencies for a lot of tasks that you don't need to bring on everyone in house. So for me, for example, marketing, we use different marketing agencies, small marketing agencies. We try and find ones that are either minority owned or woman owned or LGBTQ plus that align with like our values and having diversity. Um, but so our organic social media, having an agency, and our paid social and our email. And the reason we use so many different ones is because we try and find ones that are really proficient in that particular area, like that's their area of expertise, and smaller ones. But
Yeah.
those things can all be outsourced and then we can manage them internally with a really small team, but by outsourcing um, those. So I'd say kind of a combination of being able to use consultants, agencies, but I mean, our social media agency has been with us for so long. They feel like part of our internal team. I mean, we work with the founder of the agency. We're there at every photo shoot and things like that. So I just think that enables smaller brands to kind of cover all those different like areas, but maybe do so more cost effectively and with more flexibility. Because I said our social media agency has been with us now for a while, but I switched 3 times because it wasn't the right fit. But I had that ability because it was using an agency model
Right.
versus it'd be a lot for us to like onboard and then and then off board and onboard. So that's kind of how I've approached it. And
Yeah. I
you know,
think absolutely great advice. I think it's smart to definitely. see how people are operating. And, because it's one thing in an interview, but it's another in reality, how things play out. Now in California, we have our new laws here around independent contractor, and there's certain things that just don't qualify. So we had people that were independent contractors at the time. We needed to move them to W-2, just for being here. But we're still able to kind of test them first. Like, we just hired somebody recently that does a lot of tech for us, and we just gave him a project and work with the team. Even if it's just for 2-3 weeks, you get an idea how do people show up, how responsible are they, how quickly do they work, are they nice people, those kinds of things. So I think that is great advice, to definitely test people first.
Right. And for
Um,
us, we're a startup. So we have to make sure people are willing to wear a lot of hats. Like when you come work
yes.
for a startup, you are not going to be just doing, if maybe you before were like siloed and only did like one particular job, you're going to be doing a lot of different jobs, and making sure people have that are, open to that. So that's another big thing that we have to like test and make sure that it's a person who's kind of willing to jump in and do
Mhm.
everything. There's not one part of the business that I have not done myself that I'm asking anyone else to do, from packing boxes on my dining room floor to doing tastings in grocery stores. Like, I have done every single
Yes, I'm sure you
job.
have. I'm sure you
Yes.
have. And you know what? That's actually a really good point. We haven't really brought that up on this show before, because I think sometimes in with people that have had more of a corporate background, you have this area and that is your focus. And so when you're hiring in the business world, you need to have people that can handle change, because not everybody can. And it can be stressful for them and for you.
Yeah.
So, that I think has to be part of the interviewing process for sure. Um, because I remember too, when we were smaller, people, we had a couple, well, where's your X department? And I'm like, you're looking at it right now. It's here. It's this corner right here. So, anyway, well, that's fantastic. And how has being a certified women owned business, for Inspiro, with WeBank help you to grow your company?
There are so many benefits of being Weeping certified, and I have recommended it to many, many female founders. I'm constantly telling them about it. There are so many. I mean, you're going to start with the certification piece of it, which is extremely helpful, because it really, then you have a credible organization behind kind of what you're messaging and saying. So we can say we're woman owned, but this is, there is a standard to be held to be WeBank certified. So then when you're going out and using that as your messaging, it's not just like us saying it, but they know that it's, credible and the truth. So I think there's that piece of it. And for us in particular, retailers have major diversity initiatives, and so it's very helpful, and they want the actual certification. I think, in addition, I think that's what everybody kind of just thinks about, but there are so many resources, and it's a matter of how much you take advantage of those. And I do. So I apply for everything. I'm in the pitch competition that's going on right now for WeBank. I applied to the most recent accelerator. I've done We Thrive. I've done We Thrive Digital. I've done, the one to pitch to get into retail. So there are so many available free resources, from webinars and discussions, and all these like different like learning platforms. So I think if you really engage in the community and take advantage of those, they're extremely beneficial.
Yeah,
And
it's so much. It's all about showing up, right? So if you don't participate, you're not going to get much out of it. But
right.
it sounds like you really have, which is
And then the
it's
local
fantastic,
chapter. So being part of your local
right?
chapter, we have an event coming up next week. I'm in the WBDC. And then also community. So I've met a lot of other female founders that we're going to collaborate with and do partnerships with and giveaways with, like, and just share learnings. I mean, that I learn the most from other founders. I'm looking for this type of agency, or do you have this kind of packaging company, or can you make an introduction? I mean, there are just so many ways to share information. And so even that aspect of it, just the network of the incredible women that I've met. So I can't recommend it more highly.
Yeah, that's so great. That's so great. I'm excited. Look, you started this business literally at the start of the pandemic. So we have to give it to you, Mara, seriously. I think a lot of people would have, said, okay, well, I'm not doing it, and shut their doors. And here you've persevered. What are your big goals? Like where would you like to see Inspiro in the next 3 years?
So I think scaling, but really strategically. So not going too wide, but going kind of inch wide, mile deep, building in our current markets and adding additional markets. And hopefully, in 3 years, just adding more states every year. By the end of this year, we'll be in 5 states. So then adding more states next year. But we need to do so um, really kind of strategically to make sure we're not overextending ourselves, making sure we're actually building in those states and really well. So I think it's brand awareness that a lot of people have heard about the brand and know it and are fans of the brand. And I think it's making sure that we're available locally on like a state by state basis. That's kind of where I'm hoping to see the brand expand.
Yeah, fantastic. Has it been, because it is a crowded market? I'm just curious as we wrap up here. I had to throw in this question. Getting on the shelves in these uh, liquor stores or grocery stores, since they have their limited shelf space for tequila, has that been challenging?
Everything is challenging in the spirits industry. So you start off by we have a 3-tier distribution system. So I cannot sell direct in any state to any bar, restaurant, or retailer. So I have to have a distributor in every state. So the first big step for a brand, especially an emerging brand, is to find a distributor who will take you on in every state. So finding a really good distributor partner. So that's kind of the first hurdle. And then going out and selling it in to all those retailers. Now, what I would say is actually, at least our finding has been that a lot of those retailers do really care now about having some diversity on the shelves. They're recognizing that their consumers are diverse and that they should have some representation on the shelf that kind of reflects their consumers. So that part has been, really helpful for us, being probably one of the very few certified woman-owned tequila brands and even
Yes.
spirits brands. Um, so we are finding that they're willing to open some shelf space for us. We also only have 2 SKUs, so we don't take up, and they're really tall, skinny bottles. We don't take up a ton
Yeah.
of space. Um, but I think having the woman-owned certification, we're also certified B Corp, and the fact that we're confirmed additive free, we do check a lot of boxes in a very crowded category. So it does set us apart. I know we don't have any celebrities. We are, I guess our consumer is a celebrity. We are not the celebrity
Yeah.
brand, but that we are competing in that sea of celebrity brands.
Yes, yes, I know J Lo just came out with it's not tequila, but she has her thing that she's done. Well, I think this is phenomenal, and that's just great advice there, right? You got to find a distributor. That's really important. They already have the connections and so forth. And then again, here in such a big market of alcohol and then tequila that you're one of, or maybe the only, that is, focus on certification, diversity, and then other ways just with the product in itself. I think that's phenomenal. So, anyway, any last words of advice that you would like to leave with us today?
I think for anyone getting started, I honestly think there's 2 pieces, which we talked about both. One is that there's no getting around the hard work. All the resources are out there, but if it is never too late, if you want to enter a new industry or pivot in your career, everything's out there for you to learn, but you just have to put in the time and effort. and it's doable. And then the second piece is, though, it's a very lonely journey and you can't do it alone. So I always recommend building a community and a supportive community behind you. I happen to have a great supportive community that I've built from starting this, of female founders and leaders, and that's you can find them in WeBank and other organizations, but it's really essential. You cannot just do this like kind of on an island by yourself. I think it's important to have other people that you can go to and other resources that you can, ask questions of, and that'll support you.
Yeah, great, great advice. Definitely don't do this alone. You don't have to. So, anyway, thank you so much for being with us today. And so, what is your website address so people can find you?
Yes, it's inspirotequila.com, INSPIRO tequila.com.
Fantastic. Well, I'm definitely going to be looking forward to trying your brand. It looks incredible. So, congratulations, and I hope you all enjoyed the show. If you did, please write a review. It makes a big difference. Share this with other business women, business leaders that you care about. And I am Allison Maslan. I am the CEO and founder of Pinnacle Global Network, where we mentor CEOs all over the world to grow and scale their business. And I have a gift for you. If you all would like, we're going to send you a copy of my Wall Street Journal bestselling book, Scale or Fail, for absolutely free. All you need to do is go to pinnacleglobalnetwork.com/WeBank, WBENC, and we will send it to you as our gift. So until next time, make decisions from where you're going, not from where you're at. We'll see you on the show.